Good evening, everyone. Today, we have the second session for Android penetration testing by Kiran sir. Kiran sir is information security analyst with experience in multiple domains of cybersecurity, including vulnerability assessment and penetration testing of Android and web application, also infrastructure penetration testing alongside blue teaming. He also has hands-on experience in digital forensics investigations and has been among the top 15 researchers of fourth quarter 2019 of National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center newsletter in January 2022. He has also gained Hall of Fame in a lot of organizations and appreciations from various organizations like Paytm, Hotstar, OnePlus, Hackersera, MasterCard, ISC Square, and many more. Recently, he has also represented Cybersecurity India in NSA NAS Summit in Dubai. We are glad to have you here, sir, and in the second session of Android penetration testing, we are looking ahead to gain more knowledge from you.
Thank you, Faizan, for a brief introduction. And just give me a minute, I will be starting. Just wait for a few minutes so that people can join. Once we join, we will start. So it's 6:03. We'll wait for 2 minutes. 6:05 will start the session. Okay, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. So let's get started. Okay. So as promised yesterday, today we will be looking here in the from the dynamic analysis, or we can say from the practical point of view. So today it will be completely practical. We will try to keep it 90% practical or 100% practical as much as possible, so that you people will be enjoying the real world scenarios, or if not real world, but at least the scenarios in which we will be actually doing practical and not just restricted towards the theoretical part. So I have already made a setup of the entire environment, because creating the environment takes a bit of time. So whenever I share my screen, there's a you'll be able to see the entire setup ready. But I will be sharing the details in the chat, so that everybody can do the setup on the individual laptops. Okay. So what is the, when I say environment, what is the basic environment that we need? One is the JDX tool that we already we can say I mentioned yesterday, from where you can get the JDX tool. Let me just to share the screen first. Just give me a minute. Cancel and search for JDX. Okay. It's a tool. And I am ready. So let me share my screen. And here is it. I hope everyone is able to see my screen. Second. Okay. Yeah, everyone is using my screen. And let's get started. So just to give a brief about it, so what we'll be doing, we'll be solving the DBW lab, which is damn vulnerable Android application. And when it comes to setup, I have a couple of tools over here. One is this option that is notepad. This is the emulator where we'll be using it. Like some people in the chat mentioned yesterday, like I'm using physical device, but not everyone has physical device. So can you show it on emulator? So this time I have came with the emulator, and then we have Burpsuit. Burpsuit is known to everyone because Burpsuit which has been done already. There's JEDX, which is being used yesterday itself, but today we'll be looking more into JEDX. The major tools that we use today will be the ADB that we learned yesterday, and second is JEDX, that is also has been used yesterday. So these two tools will be the most used tools in today. Okay, for today. Okay, so I just opened JEDX and going here again, going to downloads folder. Like yesterday, we just saw the CSI MPT and we interacted with DYWA application. I'm just opening this particular file so that we can decompile it. And if you recall yesterday, we click on this particular icon, so you can search text as well as decompile it. So once I click on it, it will start decompiling. If you can see over here or here, you can see that it is getting decompiled. So once we decompile application, we will start with the practical perspective. Let's wait for the APK to get decompiled. And let's see what's going on in the chat. Okay, someone is asking, do you have core software and Burp Pro? So yeah, so Burp Suite, you can download from the official website. Okay, done. So we are done with the decompiling. So whenever I click over here, just whenever I click over here, it will not decompile again because it is the decompile is done already. Okay. Now come side, and let's start with the first one. Right. Won't disturb us. Okay. So this is the emulator that I'm using. Like I mentioned, some people use Genymotion, some people use Memo, some people use various the kind of applications. But I personally prefer using the Android Studio AVD emulator. So currently I'm using the same, which is the Android Studio emulator. That is AVD, Android Virtual Device. So how to get started? So let me show you the reference from how you can actually install it. There are multiple references, but you can refer my pen name Samsung Light, and here you will get my reference, like how I have installed AVD into my system. So this is nothing but the vulnerability report, just for information purpose. Suppose many people don't like writing reports, so I just made a public repository where you can get all the like the reports, a basic structure of format basically. For example, here title, description, impact, remediation, references. So whenever you want to search for any or want to create any report for example, any clickjacking or something, then you can just refer this one, and you should be able to get everything like title, description, the basic format that is required in the corporates. Okay, so just to make the report writing easier, but there's out of scope. Let's come to the mobile vision pen testing part. So first is the Android virtual device setup. So how to do it? Initially, when you install a, or we can, if you try to set up this emulator, it doesn't come with root. It is a non-rooted device. You get the reason being I use this particular device is like you get lots of features into this particular phone. Once I click over here, you will be able to see damn lots of features like location, and then cell, you get what kind of SIM card or what kind of things it is present, the battery life, camera. The best thing is like the fingerprint. You get the fingerprint sensor, virtual sensors like proximity and everything. So all this kind of details you won't be, it is not found in other emulators, as per my understanding, as per my up to my knowledge. Okay, but this emulator gives you lots of features, and this is the reason why I love it. And apart from this, you get the latest Android updates. Like you can get Android 13. You can actually install Android 13 or the latest one which is out in the market. So these are the multiple reasons, and it's very clean. It doesn't contain any kind of ads or anything. So hence I love this, but it's everyone's personal choice. You can use whichever you want. You want to go with Genymotion, you want to go with Memo or Knox or whichever you want. Okay, but I have just created a blog for AVD because it is a bit complicated as compared to Genymotion and other kind of emulators. So to create this Android Studio emulator, you need to install the Android Studio emulator and create, or we can say Android Studio, and create a blank project which we have created yesterday. And I have showed you yesterday like how can you actually create a emulator. Like click on the AVD button and then select any kind of Android version device and everything. So which was already demonstrated yesterday. Once you click on it, but the glitch is we will be looking at a one more tool maybe today or in the next lecture, that is mobile MobSF, that is mobile application security framework. For that, the requirement of emulator is different. For MobSF, you need to install a emulator which has no Play Store. It doesn't support emulators which has Play Store. So, but as a pentester or as a normal person, we ideally love Play Store because it is easier to install apps from Play Store rather than going from installing from an unknown source or something. Okay, so I ideally prefer two emulators. One is for MobSF, that is without Play Store, and second is for personal pen testing purpose, that is with Play Store. So hence I've mentioned here this is the recommended one, but you can definitely use a different one whichever you want. So this Android 9 that I've used, and today for pen testing purpose, I have just installed this 8.1, but you can definitely use the latest one if you want. And all it is I already mentioned over here, which kind of device you need to select, what is the RAM that you need to provide, and all the steps are provided over here. It is a bit messy, I do understand. Ideally, it should not be, but while uploading I think there is some glitch because over here, let me show AVD setup. What is it? Oh, here's it. If you see over here, it is step by step, line by line. But once it is uploaded, I think it messed up. it is like showing step 1 here, step 2 somewhere in the middle and something, but ideally it should be like this. So these are 7 steps that you need to follow for, and the same for any other one. This particular API version, that is API version 28. You can decode it once you say what is API version 2. You can just Google out API 28 Android version, and you will get the actual Android version out of it. Probably it should be 5 or something. Yeah, see, Android 9. Android 9 is API level 28. So Android 9 is not supported. So you can ignore Android 9. So it's not supported on Magix. But I have someone managed to do it, but as per the documentation, it is not supported. Okay. So try not to use Android 9. Apart from Android 9, you can use any of them before Android 9 or after Android 9. Okay. Only for Magic Sync, if I'm saying routing purpose. If you want to just do for the MobSF part, you can definitely use 9. Hence, I use 9 over here. So some people will say that why 9, but I didn't face any problem. But as per documentation, it's saying that it is not supporting. But I personally didn't face any problem while installing Android 9. So this is a command to actually list AVDs. For example, let me just close this Android emulator and try to open it so that you can have it, you can feel out of it. Close it. I close emulator, and here is it. Do close. Second, okay. CLS clear, and I'm just writing the same command over here. That is listing the AVDs. Okay. And here's it. I have, as I mentioned, I have installed Oreo 8.1 PS Indicates Play Store, and this is API version. Like 28 is the API version for Android 9. So definitely 27 will be the Android version for Oreo, that is 8.1. Okay. I hope the speed is good today. People are able to understand much better. Yeah, one question arises that nowadays latest app doesn't support emulator. So we have things like emulator detection bypass, root detection bypass, and other kind of things that we will be seeing in the upcoming one. So let's go on the flow line by line. So once we get the hover of it, like what are list of the emulators, then we can use emulator -avd, and then we can use the emulator name, or this is an optional flag that you can do. This is mostly used in case you are running a MobSF or something for the dynamic analysis in the MobSF. This will be looking in the further we can say experiments or practicals. So for the time being, that is an optional flag. So we'll be using emulator FNAVD and just copy paste whatever you have or you want to run or start basically. And done. The emulator will get started. So apart from the, you can also start from the Android Studio itself. But once you start the Android Studio, it consumes lots of RAM and makes it bulky. So I prefer using CLI over we can say over GUI, or we can say over Android Studio. So now once you start the CLI part, so Android Studio doesn't load. So only the AVD, the Android virtual device gets loaded. We're actually opening the Android Studio. But once you start it, this, as I rightly mentioned in the start, this particular Android device is not rooted. So you need to root this Android device. So how to do it? There's a repo called root AVD. So you need to clone that repo, cd AVD, and then you can list all the AVDs like we did in the previous one. Emulator list AVDs, a similar command called root AVD.bat list AVDs. That will list all of them. You just have to figure out something that is end name is ramdisk.img, and you just have to copy that particular line and paste it. So once you paste it, it will take around some 20-30 seconds or max 60 seconds, and it will get a restart automatically. If it doesn't get restart, you can just close it and restart it. Once you restart it, the magic will be installed, and you'll be able to see something like this: installed RAM disk, Zabbix no, and RAM disk yes. That's it. And your phone is rooted, or because your emulator is rooted. So this particular link, this particular documentation is already I have uploaded in the internet, because yesterday's people said that they need notes. So just upload it on Gitbook. I'm just posting the same in the chat. You can get it from the chat itself, so that you can use it for a reference, or okay. Done. So you can have the notes from here. Now coming back to the topic. So I hope you are familiar with the things like how to root the phone, or basically how to root the emulator, how to install emulator and stuff. Now going back. And okay, done. Yes. Okay. Now we need to install this DVW application. So we have already downloaded it from yesterday. And what we can do, we can just drag and drop this APK to the emulator, one thing, or we can use ADB to install it like we did yesterday. ADB install the file name, and the APK will get installed. Okay. So once I open this APK, let's try to solve it. Minimize it. Minimize it. What is the first one that we are seeing? That's insecure login. What does insecure login means? The link is posted in the YouTube channel. Okay. One second. Check. It said no, it is posted already. Here's it. Hope you are able to see. Okay, just posting a link again. Posted. Send. I have sent the link again. You can get it from someone. Now coming to insecure login. What does insecure login means? Means data is getting logged, or you can sensitive data is getting logged in the console, or you can say logs of the particular application.
Sir, actually, the link is not visible in public chat. Can you please share it with me, and I will share it in chat? I don't know why it is not visible publicly.
Okay, no issue.
It's just visible to you.
I just posting YouTube chat. Not sure why.
Yes, actually, we can see it on your screen posted thrice, but still it's not visible.
Okay, I just posted a Zoom chat. You can
okay.
just okay. Thank you, Faizan. Okay, now coming to insecure login. So yesterday we had seen something called as ADB log cat, if you recollect. So we'll be using the same thing to see how exactly this insecure login comes in the picture. Okay, let's try to solve the first one. Okay, here is the objective is like find out what is being logged, where and how the vulnerable code, and they also given a hint. So let's not take the hint for now. Just we'll be trying to see this trying to solve the objective without actually taking the hint. So let's, as I mentioned rightly, we just need to go over here, and which of the activities mostly developers keep a similar kind of name over here. So for timing, we are seeing something called as insecure logging. Okay, let's try to see if we see something called as access control or insecure logging or something we have. Okay, I can see log activity, which is similar this insecure logging. Okay, so let's try to analyze it. Let's close this one. It is ahead of me. What is saying? It is saying that there is something called as checkout. Okay. So, and this is view, and there is something called edit text, view by ID. Okay, so let's try to see if we can see something called as checkout or something. So there's a button called checkout. Okay. So in that it is trying to log.e. Log.e means it is trying to print some of the logs with a tag called diva hyphen log. Okay. And it's saying error while processing the transaction with credit card plus cc text dot get text to string means whichever input we are trying to put is actually getting logged with an error message, error by processing the transaction with credit card plus the value that we are entering. The value that we are entering is nothing but the value of the credit card, because here it is saying enter the credit card number. And as you guys know that the credit card number is super sensitive and should be not logged in the logs, because any malicious application will be able to get these logs easily. And if any kind of sensitive information like credit card number, credentials, password, or any sensitive information is getting logged in the logs, and if any other application is trying to retrieve it or read it, so it is super critical, right? And let's try to see practically whether it is possible and try to gain a POC out of it. So here's a new terminal over here. We are sharing the terminal so that we can have both of them in the same screen. Okay, see it out. So let's try to log catch. Let me do ADB and shell. Okay, now do log catch. And this here's it. But the problem is if I try to do the log cat of this application, I'll get lots of logs. Can you see? See, there are lots of logs coming out. So how can I filter it out? Is it feasible to actually check the logs out of it behind so many logs? No, it is possible, but it becomes very tedious to understand out of it. So what we will do, we will just let me do one thing. We will use something like the PS command. If you recall yesterday, we just use PS command to understand the process of this particular or PID of this particular application, right? So we'll using that same function today to optimize this particular thing. PS hyphen capital A, and we will try to grab what's the name of application? Diva, right? DIVA, and what we use hyphen I for case insensitive, and here's it. We got this. Okay, this PID. So now what I will do, log cat, and then I will do is grab this particular package name. And if you want, you can also grab the process ID, that is PID, in case if required. If there are more garbage logs, then you can just grab it out. You can do more filtration. But here's it. We're able to see some of the logs, but the logs are stopped. And the logs are very minimum. Very good. So let's try to do add some of the values over here and see if we're getting the logs or not. I'm just trying to add just basic numbers. Okay, and try to just check out and try to see if we are getting the logs out of not or not. Okay, an error occurred. What is the problem over here? Just add one more time, just random values. Okay, you see using this 3654 and press enter. Okay, so got it. As I mentioned, you can check with the process ID, like or with packaging. So packaging didn't work. So I just did is the process ID. And once you see here, we are getting this particular value of this transaction ID error while processing the transaction with credit card, and we are getting the credit card number. So here is it. This is how we are actually able to capture in secret login. I hope you are able to understand it. So if you want, I can do it for you again. So first thing that we did, that is we tried to understand what is the process of this particular application. Okay. And we got a process ID. Now we will be trying to like look into a log of this particular process. Okay. So what we did? Here's it. I just try to look at this particular process ID which belongs to Zagara Ascendant Diva. So now you will say, how do I understand? Is this is the same package name, or is there any kind of other package name, or is there other way to understand where exactly the packaging is located? The answer is yes. We will be looking into it, but the time being, here's it. We are getting lots of information. Okay. Now you will say we are getting this existing information that we are seeing. Let's try to change the information. Let me just add something like 987654321 and 0. And currently we don't have this kind of information. As soon as we can check out, we should be able to get it. Yeah, here is it. You're able to see it. 976543210. So this is a vulnerability which you can report under insecure login. But if you want to make it more specific, if you don't want to print all this particular kind of logs, if you recollect in the source code, we have seen these logs are being triggered based on a keyword called diva-log. You can make it more accurate. You can make the logs more accurate so that you don't get any kind of garbage logs. So let's try to make it more enhanced. Okay, here's it. And I'm using the same function, but making it more accurate using function called grep -I diva. What was the function? Let me just see. Diva-log. Okay, this is the function. This is something that I'm using. Okay, there's the phone, and here's the emulator. Diva-log. Okay, and here's it. Currently, I'm not getting anything. I'm not sure. I think I missed or something. Probably the regex is not proper, which I'm using. Ideally, it should work. Grep function. What went wrong? Diva-log. I think this, because this semicolon is creating an error. Let me see. We can definitely optimize it. See if it is working or not. No, it's not working. I'm not sure why it's not working. This maybe dual grep function is not working properly. Okay, so there's the issue with the graph function probably. So here is it. We're able to see all the logs that we have done is 1 to 9. Then we have 1 to 9. Then we have tried to enter this one. Then we have tried 3 times this one. All are getting logged, which was the credit card information we've done. So this like you are making the results much more accurate. Initially, we got lots of garbage logs. Then we optimize it to lesser logs. Now we have the only log that we actually want. Okay. So we are done with the first experiment, or we can first one. Now we'll move on to the second one. Okay. Let's move on to the next lab. That is hard-coded issues. Okay. Let's try to open this and close this. What is the channel name? Hard-coded issues part 1. So let's try to find something similar. So here I can see there's something like a hard-code activity. So what does this say? What do you mean by hard-coded secrets of hard-coded activity? What do you mean by this term? Anyone? What do you mean by the term hard-coded? Okay. So hard-coded means something that is actually hard-coded, like it is written somewhere, or is it present somewhere? It might be in the internal storage, it might be in external storage. like it might be in the source code, it might be during the runtime, or somewhere it is present, but we don't know where exactly it is present. Okay, so our task or our objective is to find what is hard coded and where it's hard coded. So currently they are asking for the vendor key, and once we click, let's try to do something like something that rubbish and see if we are able to get it. So it is saying access denied. See you in hell. Okay. So it is saying, okay, this is not that gonna work. We need the actual vendor key. So this similar thing that you see in most of the applications, that they ask for a access key or access token or something. And some people or some developers, what they do is like they just hard code this particular keys and everything. And you might be familiar with these things, like you just pick up some keys from the GitHub or some Google or somewhere and just try to put it, and you get access out of it, right? So for that, for such kind of applications, one scenario is the keys are already hard coded, so they are just accepting the particular keys, or either it is hard coded on the client side or it is hard coded on the server side, and there's no validation for it, and hence we are able to bypass it. So let's try to see how we can do it in the Android phone or Android application. So it is saying access view if edit text. Okay, it is saying edit text get text to string equals hard, sorry, vendor secret key. Okay, if it is saying that is equal to vendor secret key, then it should say that access granted to you on the other side. Else it should say access denied. Since we are not entering this particular key, so it is showing that it is access denied. Let's try to put this particular key and see if it will work or not. Paste and try to see verify access, and says access granted. See on the server. This means this particular value or hardware secret was present in this particular we can say piece of code, that which indicates if this is equal to this particular value, then it is allowing, and if it is not equal to this particular value, then it is saying access denied, and hence we are able to complete this particular second challenge. Isn't it interesting and fun? Gamers challenge mentions that how to install in CLI and use Android Studio. Don't know. So for that scenario, we have already sent the pinned comment where you can get how to do it in CLI and how to install AVD. Okay. Okay. Let me just go to the next lab. That is insecure data storage. Okay. Here we have something called as find out where and how the credentials are being stored and the vulnerable code. Okay, now we have something like initially it was hard coded, but now it is storing, like it is dynamically storing. Initially, we didn't give any kind of input in the hard code issues. It was predefined, it was already stored. We just had to what we had just had to is remove it. Okay. 1 second. Just minimize this thing. Okay. We just had to just find that particular key and then pass in this particular position. Okay, and or we can say we just need to provide an input in this particular position. But in this next challenge, they are saying whichever we are trying to input is getting stored somewhere, and that is not secure. Okay, that is insecure data storage. Let's try to find it out. Okay, insecure data storage. Try to analyze which one is this. Probably this one, insecure data storage. What does it say? It is saying that there's something called as shared preferences. Okay, which is save credentials. You just try to save the credentials and some new shared preferences. And it has a preference manager, get default shared preferences, putting something like user, and there's something called as password, text. So basically it is trying to save this particular details for its user and password in the shared preferences. And if you recollect, shared preferences are nothing but present in its folder structure called data package name, and there you get all the files of that particular application. Suppose if I try to save something over here, and then I can find it out in the shared preferences file. Okay, let's try to find it out. So for the timing, I'm just entering uh, username as admin hashtag amh light, or just, or let's do not keep the common one. Let's do something like amh2r. Right. Okay. Let's keep password like something. Uh, let's put some random characters. Okay, and special characters. Even I don't know the password. Okay, and I will try to save it. Okay, and it is saying third-party credentials saved successfully. The credentials are saved. So now, as an the external attacker or an attacker, I just want to see whether I just want to see where exactly these credentials are being stored, or as an external application, want to access this particular data. So the question comes: Will any application be able to see this particular data? No. The ideal question is like, no, not every application will be able to see this data. But if you have something called as backup is equal to true, like we have seen yesterday that there are things like backup is equal to true is an exploitable thing that we see in the manifest file. So definitely we will look into it. What exactly is backup is equal to true and other things. But as of now, it is we will be looking into this particular piece of code, what exactly this piece of code is doing, and how to exploit this particular vulnerability. Okay. Now let me go into CMD and try to get the shell. So we have taken the shell. Okay, it'll be lockcat or it'll be shell. So going to this particular structure, as we recollect the yesterday's lecture, we have spoken, we have discussed on the folder structure, that is data. So let's go into data/data. And like we have mentioned previously, we want to know the packaging. And if anyone knows the packaging, it's well and good. Else, we can have a look at it over here. We can just go to manifest Android manifest.xml. In Android manifest.xml, in the first or second line, you can just scroll down a bit and you will be seeing something called as package. And this is nothing but the packaging, zaka.asim.diva. So for any application, you can just check it out. This is the package name. Now going to this particular folder and we can space it out and press enter and just press ls. Okay, so we don't have the root access of it, so we can just get su and it should be prompting for the root access probably. Okay, here's it. Let me just grant the root access. Grant. Okay, is it granted? So let me just check. If it isn't granted, then I'll grant it. Grants. Now it is granted. Okay. So root access is granted. CLEAR. It is clear. And I will do ls. Here's it. So I can see shared preference over here. But if you want to see if it is file or directory, you can use ls-la lah, that is human readable format. And you will be able to see that this is where exactly is it. Shared preferences and D indicate is a directory. So we can just go into this particular directory using cd shared preferences and go ls. You are able to see 1 and 2 files. And there's something called this. We can just cat all these files, the cat star, probably it should work. And here's it. I'm going to see this. Here is it, the user and the password. You can see the username and the password that I entered over here. and we're able to see the username and password being stored in plain text in shared preferences of this particular file or of the particular application. Okay, we are done with this particular challenge. Now moving forward to the next challenge. Minimize it. Give a application. I'm going back. Insecure data storage part 2. Okay, now this challenge is similar. It's saying again it is getting stored in plain text, or you can say it's a insecure data storage, but the location might be different. So let's try to see what is where exactly these credentials are getting stored. So this time we'll be using something else. So let's take the username as CSI and let's type a password like CSI hashtag some random values and some random characters and few numbers. Okay, and let me just save. And it's saying third-party credentials are saved successfully. Let's try to analyze code. What is going around, going in the background? Okay. So let's see. Try to see this code like insecure data storage part 2. This is right. Yeah, we are on right page. What is saying? It is saying that try there is something called as open or create database ID S2. So it is trying to create a database called IDS2 from 0, and then it is executing create table if not exists. So it's trying to create a table if it is not existing called my user, and it has two values called user, which is giving a type called varchar, and that's a password. Okay, and it is logging that log.d, like d indicates debug logs. Like in the initially we have seen that log.e, that is an error log, different types of logs also. So log.t diva an error occurred while creating plus which is getting the message what a message it is. Okay, so we are able to see then it is trying to save the credentials. So where is it getting, where is it saving? This is the part in which it is a creation part. Here there is nothing like saving something. Okay, now here we are able to see there's something called as where we are actually interested in. We are interested in something. If you recollect over here, this is trying to save something. Okay, and we are interested in saving part. So where exactly is it getting saved? It is insert into my user values. So this is where it is created it, and in this particular one it is just saving it, and it's saving all these particular files, passwords and everything, and it is closing. So and it is saying okay, third party credentials saved successfully. So let's try to exploit it. So how we can do it? Again, we're using adb. Okay, so let's try. Let me, you can do ls cd dot to get back of the directory, and there's a folder called databases, regulated database. Okay, in cd databases and ls you will get Diva nodes and this db and various other things. So currently we are able to see this one, and there's something called IDS2. But if you recollect in the core, we are able to see there's something inside this database called IDS2. So we are not interested in this other kind of databases. We are interested in this particular database, that's IDS2. Okay. How to access it? So you can use SQLite 3. Okay. Then IDS. Okay, it's IDS or IDS2. IDS2. Let's try to do this. Okay, and we can use dot tables to get the tables. We are able to see two tables. And if you see in the code, we are interested in the table where the data is getting stored. So this is getting stored in the table called my user. Okay, So the basic query, select star from this particular table name, that is my user. We just space it out and press this. Okay, done. That's it. And we got it. This is a username. And like I mentioned, I have used CSI, has some kind of values, then special characters and numbers. And this is a password. So we are able to find out the username and password that is stored in the database in plain text of the database. That is a local database. Cool. We have solved the next challenge. That is hardcode secrets part 2. Okay, now moving to the next part. That is insecure data storage part 3. Again, it is the same that it's saying there is something, the data is being stored, but we are not sure where exactly it is being stored. Let's try to see and analyze where the data is getting stored. Okay. So I hope you are able to connect the yesterday's structure with today's structure. Why we are seeing this particular data structure, what is internal storage, external storage. So my question to you is, what is the storage that we are looking, or we can say the data that is present is what kind of storage is it from the U1 perspective? Is it internal storage, it's a root storage, or it is a storage that is of SD card, or what exactly, what kind of storage is it? Is it okay? I'm seeing, able to see there's no response. Okay, someone is saying that's an external storage. Okay, okay, I just got one comment. But sorry to say, this was an internal storage or the root storage. Internal storage is the not internal storage. You can say it's a root storage from the human perspective or from the layman perspective. From the phone perspective, the Android perspective, it is an root storage. Okay, or an internal storage basically. So it is not an external storage. It is an internal storage from the Android perspective, and from the layman perspective, it is a root storage. Okay. So let's try to analyze this particular one, what is going on into this particular. So there's something a user and PW, that is password. And it is getting stored in a temp file that is uinfo. That is getting stored in the temp file called uinfo. So any idea where exactly these temp files are getting stored? Okay, let's try to analyze it. Where are they getting stored? Let's, yeah, someone mentioned that it's a root storage. Okay. Good. Good to see that people are responding with correct answers. Let's try to add some random values as a username and only some random numbers. We add random numbers and some random special characters. Okay, I just added it, and let's try to analyze where are they getting stored. Save. Okay, so again, I'm going to the ADB shell. Let me just exit it. I'm not sure how to exit. It's done. I'm out of it. We are, and let's try to just go back one step back, one step back. Okay, and I am not able to see anything over here. So there's a high possibility this temporary storage is present. Okay, I'm able to see something over here. To info. Is it C? Let's try to cat it out. I'm not sure if this is the one. No, probably this is not the one because it mentioned that it is something called as uinfo temp, but let's try to analyze this one also. Catch and this. Oh my god. So we are able to see this particular file, user and password over here. So it has only read and write permissions, and it is having some kind of uinfo and then some kind of random numbers and temp. So I so not sure, but we are able to see. And here, like I mentioned, there's a username which I entered over here, right? And like you mentioned, we will be using the random numbers and then random special characters. That's it. So this is how we are able to analyze this part. So let me do just ls, and here's it. It is a temporary file that is being generated, and we are done. 1 second. Let me just minimize it. Let's move on to the next one, next challenge. Okay, let me just give me a minute. I will have some water, and you guys can also have some water till then if you require. I will be back in a while. Hello guys, I'm back. So where were we? So once again, let me scroll down and see where exactly where we. We just solved insecure data storage part 3. Okay, let's go to insecure data storage part 4. Um, Again, since I insecure data storage, you can see that over here, guys, again something called username and password, and that is getting stored in again uinfo. But we are able to see something called as .uinfo.txt. This means this is getting stored into a different directory. So probably we won't be able to see this particular directory directly. Okay, so there are some hidden files in the Android phone that are starting with dot. Okay, or against full stop. Whatever, like different people say different have different technology, different way of speaking. So so let's try to analyze this particular file. Where is it being stored? And if you can see, there's something called external storage directory. If you recollect yesterday, we have said as per Android, when we say external storage directory, this means this is an internal file. Okay, internal storage. When you say that it's an external storage directory, it means it is considering internal storage also as an external storage. Okay, let's try to analyze this part. This means we need to go into our SD card. Okay, so let me just go to the SD card. Okay, and try to do ls, and I will see only these things. But what should we do if you want to see the hidden files and folders? You can just LAH, and we are able to see. But you will say, I'm not able to see anything. Yeah, you are not able to see anything because we haven't saved anything. So let's go into the application and try to save something. Let me do like internship, and let me password as PASS at the rate $WORD hashtag some random numbers and save it. And this is, oh, okay. Yes, problem. Let me just retype it. Let just like internship and this password as password and save it. File error occurred. There's some problem with this particular one. We are not able to thing. Let me do ls-la and see if we are able to create this file. Okay, so this question is for you guys. What went wrong? Why it is saying there's a file error message? Why are we getting a file error message? Any idea? If you recollect my yesterday's lecture, you will be able to connect them with this current lecture and what is going wrong. So, any idea what is going wrong? Why it is giving this particular error? Let me show you the error once again. Where were we? Insecure data storage, and here is it. We just type anything. If you just type anything, and again we are typing anything, and we are not able to save it. Why? Okay, I am not able to see any kind of comments from you guys. So no worries, I'll explain you in a very simpler manner. If you recollect yesterday, I mentioned that for getting the permission of the root directory, we don't need permission. We don't need storage permission. But if someone wants or if an application wants to access anything related to the internal storage, okay, internal storage as per layman perspective, or when it comes to the phone based on Android, we can say it's an external storage. When it requires permission external storage, then it requires permission. Which permission? Storage permission. Okay. So currently we haven't provided any permission to this particular application. Hence, we are not able to do it. So, like we in the previous one, we just tried to save something, we just tried to edit something or do something, but that was taken care where that was taken care in the root directory, or we can say internal storage as per the application point stand. But now there is an external storage, that means internal storage as per the layman point stand, and hence we need to provide a permission. Okay, so whenever you just try to enable permission for storage or something, this means you are actually just providing permissions. You don't have access to provide permission or deny permission for the internal storage or this root storage. Just have a control on the storage that is an external storage or the internal storage from the layman perspective. Okay, here's it. Now you should not be getting an error, ideally speaking. Okay, let's try to minimize it. And just go to this part. Okay, I'm just going to Diva. And let's just save it now. And hopefully now we should be not getting any kind of error. Boom. It got saved successfully, and that is we didn't encounter any kind of error. And let's try to go again. Let me clear screen. And if you can see, there's nothing like dot text or something currently. But once I do the same thing over here, and I'm able to see this particular value or this particular file that is present. This cat dot to info.txt, and here's the username that I entered over here. and this is a password data entered, and we are able to solve. We are finally solved this challenge. And then okay, let's go to the next challenge. So we are done with the insecure data storage challenge. Now coming on to input validation. What is the input validation? Whatever you are entering as an input, whether is it getting validated or not. Okay. Let's try to understand the objective. Try to access all users without knowing any username. There are three users by default. So what is saying? It is saying that there are lots of users in it, specifically three. There are three users by default. And our task is to find the output of all the users with a single malicious search. So this search doesn't have proper input validation, because of which we need to exploit it and try to find out all the users into this particular database, or we can say into this particular application. And for the time we have mentioned, there are three users. I need to find the information of this particular three users. So let's try to understand this particular code and exploit it. Okay, let's go back to this JDX. Let me close this and try to see input validation. I can see input validation 2. Okay, but we want to see, is there kind of input kind of thing over here? No. So let's this 3. And we are not able to see any kind of input validation things over here. So what can be the one? Maybe like injections, because SQLs are also related to inputs. Probably this one. You can square around everything so that you can have a better understanding of it. So let's try to see this one. What is this? I can see there's something called as open or create database called SQLi. Okay, and it's saying drop table if exists. If it already exists, it needs to drop, and then create a table again, because they don't want to create more users or something. So they're deleting the database first, and then it's a table first, and then creating the table again. And it has something user called as this creating a table in column this user password credit card this columns, and they're inserting values into it like admin. Okay, so this is a challenge that can be solved just by looking this particular decompiled code, and we are able to get, because it is a hard coded, it is similar to hard coded secrets. But the condition or the objective that you have mentioned is like we are not supposed to find the values by looking at the source code, even though we are able to find out all these values, but this is not an intended way. Ideal recommended way is like to fetch or just provide the output over here with a malicious search. So this was not by doing a malicious search. So we can just ignore as of now, okay, for this one, and try to look much more below what exactly the code is going on. So here we can see something interesting. That's a raw query. Select star from SQLi user, where user equal to, there's some search text that we're entering over here, and it is getting closed. Okay, this seems to be interesting. So let me select this particular query. Sorry. And try to exploit this, what can be done. So I hope SQL injection lecture is already done. So I'm expecting answers from you. So what will be the potential answer to exploit this particular query? Okay, there's the one, there's a query. So let's try to balance this particular query. Okay. So here is the input that we are going. So whatever input we put will be placed over here. Okay. So what should be the input? Any idea? Let me just check comments once. Okay, nice. Cyan mixes has mentioned one single quote, or let's try to try this one. Let me try something from the comments. What if we put I'm not able to copy it? Okay, that's a single quote. That's single quote, and or one single quote will do single. Okay, something like this. But will this work? Let's try it out. Okay, let's try this query. Paste. This will work. Okay, I think it's not working. So let me just enter it manually. Okay, someone from the one person from the in the comment mentioned that we should try this skill. I'm just trying it out. Or single quote, so it's one single quote, will do single quotes. Okay, none are working. Let me explain first of all why it isn't working and which should ideally work. So let's try to balance this. Okay. So let's try to break down. Initially, this is a double quote and which is starting, and this is a double quote which is idly ending. So ideally, this is not required. Okay. Well, let me skip this. So we are just removing it. So our actual query becomes like select star from SQL user where SQL user equal to which is going into double quote. Okay. So what we can do, we can just try to close it. I will try to balance it out. I will just whichever this is input. Okay. So let's try to remove this because this is the value that is getting filtered or we can say entered. So here we will be trying sing one. Okay. We're just trying to and then we'll just closing it and then we'll like or single quote one single quote equal to single quote one. So what will this happen? Let me just try to bring everything in that. So this indicates that select star from SQL user so where user equal to one or one is equal to one. Okay. Are you able to see this something? Are you able to make some difference? So this indicates that this statement will be always true. And just because this single quote is already a part and this single quote was also already a part. So whatever text that you enter over here comes something like this, which becomes always true. Okay. So this is the indication because of which the statement is always true. The search will retrieve all the data. So I'm just pasting it out. Hopefully it will get pasted. If not, then I will just type it over. Oh, as usual. Best time. I should type it. I hope you are able to understand the SQL injection. Anyways, it was already done. But again, I just explained you how exactly this query works and why this query works. Okay. Let me just go ahead and open this notepads on the side so you can able to see all queries that we are running or writing. So currently we are interested in one and then single quote or single quote one. Ideally it should work. Let's see if it is working or not. Equal to single quote, single quote one. Okay. And click on search. Boom. We are able to see this user and everything. Yeah, I hope you are able to see over here. We got all the user and passwords. Okay, this is how. And hence we solved this particular challenge. And just because this query was being leaked and because of which we were able to find it out. That's it. I think this single code and everything. So it is not giving any kind of output over here. So the basic web type challenges where single we are getting error and everything that is not working over here. Okay, this is how we can find and exploit SQL injection in Android. This is for the SQLite database organization. The malicious input no relation part one has been resolved or been solved. Now let's move to input validation part two. Okay, I hope you are enjoying the lecture today. I'm trying to keep the speed as normal, as low as possible so that everyone will be synced up with the things that I'm explaining. Okay, now we are looking into which one. There include input validation issues part two. Input validation issues part two. Input validation here's it. So let's try to see what is going on in this particular input validation part two. So there is I can see a super keyword, something else web view. Whenever you see such kind of values, and so the first thing that should trigger in your mind is like there's some kind of URL, your URL is included uh, into your particular device, or we can say into this particular application. So what is saying on create save instance, then it is trying to find view by ID, get settings, JavaScript. It is trying to enable the JavaScript is true set, and it is trying to load URL, and that's it. Okay, so what you can do is, so ideally what you can do is like when you see such kind of such kind of activity or something, so you can actually try to read or view files if there is no input validation. Okay, ideally when it's in URI, what should be ideal scenario? What should you be able to access it? Ideally it's a URL, right? For example, http colon slash slash evil.com or some other kind of files. You should be able to actually view it. Okay, you will view such kind of files. Since probably it's an yeah, here's it. You are able to view this particular application. So this is the ideal case. But what if I try something malicious? I'm a VS and Pentesting or hackers. What we try to do, we'll try to exploit some of the files and folders of this particular. We can try to view some of the files if I increase storage using this particular application or read some of the files, which should not be the scenario. So what I will do, I will just try to create one file. Okay. I'm not sure if there is nano or VI present in this particular nano. I think I don't think the nano is not present. VI, is it VI present? VI is also not present. I'm not sure is any kind of text editor present in Android or not. So what I'll do, I'll just go ahead in the emulator itself and just create some files over here. Okay, let me see if there is file manager present. Here's it, here's file manager. Hmm, storage. is the introduction. And let me just create one file over here. Okay. Mhm. Let me just create one file in Windows and push it on Android. Here is it, new, and I've just created a file over here, like input validation, or better, it's a web view exploit web view. Okay. And this one. So this is a input validation web view exploit. Okay, I just saved this file over here, and let me just go to CMD, and what I will do, recollect yesterday's commands, adb push web view as SD card slash, and this file is pushed. Okay. So what I will do now, I will just, you are able to see this, right? I'm not, my file is created over here. This use it, the unwanted things and use that is no longer required. Here's it. I can do, I can just like something like file. There are multiple protocols that you can use, right? In a file, colon slash slash. If you click file structure that I've shown yesterday, let me show you it click once again, because it's very important to understand where exactly it is set resources. And here is 100 nodes. If you click this today, I just shown you the file structure over here. Where exactly is SD card present? Here's it. So if you want to look into internal storage, okay, so that comes under slash mmc slash SD card. Okay, so if since I want to access the SD card, it's an internal storage altogether. Okay, so for that I need to enter this particular path. So what I will do, slash mnt slash SD card slash, what is the file name that I want to access? What was the file name that I want to access? Yes, it is webview.txt. So webview.txt, and I should be able to access it now. Here's it. So this is the input edition WebView exploit. So I will access the files that I'm not allowed to because of input validation. Okay, lack of input validation. So it's a file that was created and that is accessible in the file where you should be actually able to access the web URL. Got it? And we are done with the input validation issues part 2. And I just open this one to help you understand this particular structure. Okay, back to topic. Introductions part two. We're done. Now we'll be moving to access control issues. Access control issues part one. See what is going. Great. Thanks. People are enjoying the lecture. Nice to see this. Uh, I'm okay to share my handwritten notes, but probably it won't be much useful because yeah, most people don't understand the writing that I've done. Okay, and there's something called as how to exploit this input validation. So we have already done it, right? So let me explain you again. So ideally speaking, this input validation issue, we should be only able to access the files and folders. Oh, sorry, not only not files and folders. Uh, Ideally, we should be able to access only the URLs that are required. But if we are able to access the files, we should not be the scenario. And hence it is exploit. So we just tried to access some of the files. So that is fine. Okay. Ideally, the scenario should be HTTP colon let me just do one thing colon slash slash cyber secure India. Okay, so they should be the ideal scenario that we are able to access a page or website. Okay, but and we should get permission or something for things like files or something like only HTTP or HTTPS should be allowed and none of the other protocol should be allowed. But what we are doing, we are trying to retrieve files which are ideally which should ideally not be allowed. Okay. Yes. So this something went wrong with the emulator. Let me just see the emulator logs. What went wrong? If there is any kind of problem, you can just check over here. Edit copy to so that you have the visibility of it. And here's it colon slash slash and mnt slash sd card slash web view dot txt and I'm able to access. I should be able to access this particular file. And this is expert. That's it. Nothing else. Okay. I hope it's clear. Someone was addressed in the chat. So now going to the next part, that is access control issues part one. So our challenge is like you are able to access the API credentials when you click on the button. Now try to access the API credentials outside the app. So what you're saying, once I click on this particular application, view API credentials, I'm able to access it. But suppose of a scenario that you don't have access to it. Suppose there is a scenario in which it might be having the application might be having a lock like PIN, password, or biometrics or something that is required to access this particular application. So now what a challenge is like without actually clicking this particular application or without actually opening this particular application, you should be able to access this particular credentials. Let's try to do it. Access control issues. Okay, pattern. Now what I will do, since I mentioned that we need to do it without actually opening the application, let's try to clear it out. Okay. So for this, for such kind of issues or first finding such kind of things, what we need to understand is like if you recollect yesterday's lecture, we had learned or I have explained something related to exported activities. What exported activities is like the activities. So exported activities. So if an activity is exported or if the intent filter is present, Okay, we just seen that how exactly the intent or what is the role of the intent field is just. So let's try to see if there can be intents present or if there are activities that are present in this particular scenario, which can be exploited. So let's try to start with something like exported equal to double quote and true. And it should start with something called as activity because we are interested in activity. So if you see something a product or something, that is a product. But since we want to call an activity, like we mentioned yesterday, activity is something that is a screen. Every single screen has an activity, right? Okay. So now we want to open a screen which has currencies. Okay, API currencies. Let's try to go to next. And this is the provider. Okay. So this is not into our bucket, like we are not interested into it. So this again provider, okay, let's go to previous. So we are not able to see it. So is it a scenario that if exported is not declared and it is not exportable? If you recollect, if it is not declared, if export is equal to true is not declared, but it is an intent filter, then also it might be exploitable if it is an explicit intent. Okay, that would have intents we learned yesterday. One is implicit and one is explicit. Let's try to see if there's any intent filter present. So here we can see one intent filter, but if but there's condition. If it is a main activity, then we don't need to look into it because it's a launcher activity and it will be by default allowed. Okay, so we can ignore this one. So let's try to see if there's any other kind of intents present. Okay, we can see over here there is some kind of intents present. Okay, what is the intent? Okay, we can see this intent called view conditions, Android action and category is default. So let's try to exploit it. Okay, how can we exploit it? So what we can do, we can just open CMD. Like I mentioned, I will be doing most of the things over CMD itself. I will a shell. I'm just giving the app. I'm not interacting with the application anymore. So let's try to do this. For activities, there's something called activity manager in CMD. Okay. In CMD or we can say Android shell, basically that's an activity manager. So for that, we can just start like em start hyphen am start hyphen a action. So whichever I want to start. So I'm just starting action, that is this one. Okay. I'm just copying this one. And okay, so I'm just looking so that you would be handy. And this should be J. And I just find a category hyphen C. And what is the category at C? And now you will say from where I'm getting this A and C and everything, right? So definitely I will show you that also. Just copy first and paste it. V and I'll press enter. And boom, I didn't touch the application anymore. And still I'm able to access it. Okay. This is how we can exploit this particular activity. But now the question comes, why I have used hyphen A, hyphen C and everything, right? AM, hyphen help or hyphen H probably. Hyphen H and I should be giving it. Yeah, this is information identity. So here's it. I just entered AM hyphen H, which is a help. If you see, there is something start an activity. So there is an option to start an activity. You can start service over here, like start service and like which foreground service, background service, stop service, broadcast, and other things. But if we are interested in like activity EM, right? Please go down, down, down. There are lots of things that you can do. But when it comes to intents, here's it. So we are looking at the intents part, right? We are trying to explore the intents. So action indicates A hyphen A. Okay. So here we have seen there's something called action. That's intent. So intent for intent, we don't need to pass in flag. So I haven't passed in flag for intent. Then for action we need to pass hyphen A. So I use hyphen A. Then there was category, right? there's category. So for category, we use -c. So I use a -c. So whichever you want, based on that, you can just use flags accordingly, which are present over here. So there are lots of things that you can use. For the timing, we just needed 2 flags. So I use these 2 flags. Okay, and we are able to exploit it. I hope everything's clear. Yeah. Okay. So we don't want your notes. We need your those notes. Not sure what you're saying, Sayed. It's okay. Okay, what is that? That is nothing but the collection that I've made with over a period of time. Okay, done. That's it. So this is now let's open the DVW again. Clear it out. Open it again. Where are we? We were here. Access control issues part 2. Now, what is saying you are able to access third-party app after you have registered with the Twitter or TVE or whatever it is. Let's assume or spell it as Twitter or Twitter or whatever you say. I'm just saying Twitter for the timing. Okay. The app requests you to register online and the vendor gives you the PIN, which you can use to register within the app. Now try to access the API credentials from the outside the app without knowing the PIN. This is a business logic problem that you need that you may need to see the code. Okay. What is saying? It is saying that initially we need to register this particular register to actually a the application, and you will be getting the pin from this particular vendor, and then we can actually view this particular credentials. Okay, apart from that we cannot view it, but we as an attacker, to an attacker or hacker, they won't be providing the credentials of pin, right? So we won't be able to actually access it. So once I click on view, it is showing because we already having it. But suppose if you are saying if you want to register it and try to view it, are you able to view it? No, we are not able to view it because we require a pin and don't know what is the pin, right? We don't know the pin. So what can we do? Is there any possibility that we can do it? Let's try to do the similar manner. We will try to see this view credits activity again, like we did previously, and we have to open it externally from the app. Okay, we don't have the pin now, but now the challenge is we want to access this particular credentials without the pin. So let's try to see the threads too. Okay, this was the one which we explored previously, but now they're saying this is the threads too that we need to exploit. Okay, let's try to exploit a similar manner that we did previously. Let me just remove all the text that are all to present, and then I'm just copying this for the that is intent action. You will see, and this that is default. You see, okay. Both are copied. Yes, both are copied. Now let's try to open and see if we are able to do it. am-a and let me do action and -c. Let me add the category over here and press enter. Okay, something went wrong. I just mention start. Okay, now what it's saying that it is starting, but I'm not able. It is asked for pin. I'm not able to access this particular activity directly because the pin is required. Okay, so I don't have the pin. So what can I do? Let's try to analyze the code and see what is going in the background. So what is this? Part this is access control part 2, right? I don't use what is this one? Which one is this? Well, it's part 2, right? Yeah, there's a part 2. So let's try to understand what is going background. I can see there's something called as Boolean. If you guys know that Boolean is nothing but true and false. It works in true and false equal to the Morgan formula or whatever you can say. So what we can do, it is like Boolean check pin, CHK pin, okay, we can say it is short from check pin. It's having a radio button. And what is going on? If get package manager is not equal to null, then start activity. It is checking as a Boolean value if pin is allowed, if pin is present or not, or something like true and false. So let's what I can see over here is like you can try to analyze or try to pass some values that is like true or false, and we should be able to bypass this particular issue. But let's try to try. Let's try it and see if something goes well. So let me just go and do -h and see how to pass a Boolean value. Intent, and I want to pass extra string. Okay, here's it. Extra Boolean value. So I need to use -ez. So what I will do, are you able to see it? I hope you are able to see. So that's an extra Boolean value. For passing extra Boolean value, we need to use -ez. So let me just here and sorry, my type error. And let's try to enter the previous command that we use. Am start -a action -c category, and then I use -ez. Okay, and I will just enter chk. What was that value? Chk underscore pin. Okay, underscore pin, and I will just pass as something called as false and press enter. Oh, I'm getting an error. Oh, and nothing works. So might be. Let's try hash with giving a space. Oh, space work. But still it's saying it requires a pin. So it worked, but still it didn't work. Let's try to close again. And let's try with true. Might be true will work. Like false is not working, might be true will work. Still not working. Any idea? What went wrong? Why it isn't working? So we are adding correct values, but still it is not working. It still asks for pin. We have entered both the values, true as well as false. Any idea why it is not working? Yeah, in this I'm active on LinkedIn. Okay. And but coming back to the same question. So any idea why it was not working? Okay. Let me explain. Sometimes what these developers do, they use shortcuts in the code and define because just writing long cuts in repeatedly, it becomes very tedious. So what they do, they just create keeper values against strings or something into a different file, and just use the reference names over here. So where you can find it, if you recollect here, resource, and then that's something called as values. And this is the standard format. Like most of developers use define everything in a string.xml file. Even keys and passwords and most of sensitive information in real world also in day-to-day VFT. Like I'm into Pentesting since from the last 3 to 4 years. And we in the real world case also we see lots of sensitive information against hard secrets or keys are present in this particular file. So let's try to see some if there's something called as chk pin present over here, and so that we can get some values over here. Chk underscore pin. Okay, we got the name that chk pin indicates check underscore pin. Okay, so let's try to do with this particular value and see if it is working or not. And I'm using the same command that I used before. Just the thing is like I'm just doing false, and instead of chk pin, I'm just using check pin, the value that I got from the string.xml, and press enter. And hopefully you should be able to exploit it. Boom, it is done. So this is how you can exploit various other things, like if it's a boolean based thing or something, you can use extra value or string value, not necessarily every time it's a boolean value. There might be a possibility that it is saying that if you pass an extra string, we will be able to exploit it and stuff. So this is how you can bypass things and exploit things. Okay, so this is done, I hope. Now let's go to the next one. Back to topic. Hari Krishna mentioned that check and scope improve. No, that didn't work as well. But now I hope you will understand it was present as string.xml, that's the full form of the particular keyword. And this is how you can reverse in your reverse it into it in other locations and try to exploit it. Please close it. Clear all. Now go to the new activity or new exploit that we want to test. Okay, now let's go to access control issues part 3. Now it is saying this is a private nodes application. You can create a pin once and access your nodes after entering the correct pin. Try to access the private nodes from outside the app without knowing the pin. So what I will do, I'll just create a pin called 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I'll just create a change pin. Okay, I just created it. Okay, and if I go to private nodes, it is asking for pin. If I just enter some wrong pin, just enter some wrong pin, let's see if it is accessible or not. It is saying please enter a valid pin. Okay, and if I enter a valid pin, it is showing me the nodes. Okay, it is so it's saying me the nodes. Okay, but the condition is like we need to go to this private nodes without actually entering the pin. Okay, how can we do it? So let's try to understand by looking the code what is going on and how can bypass it. Is an vulnerability present in it. So access control issues. Where is it? We have nodes, right? So probably this one. What is doing? Okay, that is the main one. That is this one. If pin text equal to the default chat preferences, okay, and it's trying to get the key and it is trying to get something called get content resolver and content URI. Whenever you see content URI or content resolver, something such kind of keywords, you should be able to understand this is nothing but content providers basically, because content providers have some such kind of keywords, and this URI content URI is keyword. Let's say there's a green sign or green flag that it is a content provider, but not just assume it. Let's try to understand, analyze if it's really a content provider or not by looking into Android manifest file. Like I already mentioned, every time whenever you have something called as activities, it starts with the flag tackle activity. If it's a content provider, it starts with tackle provider. If it's a service, it starts with service. Okay, if it's a broadcast, it starts with broadcast. So let's try to see if the content provider, then it should be something like provide starting with provider, control F. Let me just start provider. And here is it. We are able to see there is something called Zakar Asim Diva notes provider. And it is export is really true. Means whenever you see export is equal to, that's a green sign that there's a high possibility that it is exploitable. So let's try to exploit it using ADB shell and see if is there any possibility that we can exploit it. Okay, so we check how is it or not. Okay, notes activity. I'm able to see this activity called here. There's an activity. We won't be able to call this activity. We are interested product. Okay, yes. And this exit once. ADB. Let's try to exploit this ADB shell. Okay, I'm just running ADB shell and then for content because we are now about to exploit a content provider. Then we just need to query this. Then you will need query, QERY query, and hyphen URI, the content that you want to access, slash slash. But the condition is like, which is the URI that I need to check. So I can see, but I'm not able to see any kind of URI over there, right? So let's try to see one by one. So one thing that I can see is like notes provider. Let's try to open one. Is that we go there? This is notes activity, and here I am not able to see any kind of URI over here for timing. As of now, I'm not able to see. So let's try to see that. But this provider has some kind of Android name called notes provider. So let's try to see. And apart from that, oh yeah, that's it. So let's try to see if we can see something called notes provider. Here's it. I got it. The way you need to follow when it comes to Android this file. So whenever you see now, for example, this. So ideally, this is in this particular format. Just let you know. Ideally, it is in this particular format. You always need to open the source code and you need to follow this particular path. Zakar Asim Diva. Okay. So you just need to go Zakar Asim Diva. You just click on plus. Once you click on plus, then you can see this notes provider. Then you can click on notes provider, and you can see there's some content URI. Just click on it. Once you click on it, it will be highlighted, and here is the URI that you got. You can just copy this particular URI. Okay, just copy it and just paste it. Just paste it into your terminal. Okay, just Ctrl Shift V and press enter. Hopefully, you should be able to exploit it. Yeah, done. All the data is being printed over here. If you just want to verify, then what you can do, you can just open this app and try to check and verify if it is correct or not. Okay. Access control issues part 2, right? Probably. Or 3, I don't recollect. I think part 3. This is the different one. This is the Boolean one. So this is part 3. And here's it. We will try to open it. Okay, and we tried 1, 2, 3, 4. Password that time. Access. Here's it. So first one is exercise. Exercise alternate days running, alternate days running. So we are able to see the same data. So we are able to exploit the content providers. Hope you have understood how exactly to exploit content providers. I know this content provider was bit tedious as compared to activities and other things, but let's make a brief workaround what how exactly we came here. So initially we started with the notes activity. Okay, let's go to the start. So as usual, we just started with something like control provide control part 3, or we say just notes 1. And here we found some of the keywords like content resolver or content URI. And we found, okay, this is a high chance that I say it is related to content providers basically. To understand better, so what we did, we just gone to Android Linux file and just found control F and did provider, and we found something called as Android name, and as well as something like Android authorities, where you found some new thing that is notes provider. To follow this notes provider, what we did, just followed this particular path over here, Sakar Asim Diva, and there we went into notes provider. In notes provider, once you click over here, either we can just you can search in this particular code, or you can just search for over here, that is content URI. And once you click on over here, it is highlighting it, and just copy this content URI and try to exploit it using this particular terminal. So what command have we used? ADB shell content query, because we're going to query the content, and then -v URI for passing the URI that we're going to pass, and the URI that we got into this particular code. That's it. And we are able to exploit it. Okay, done. I hope you understood everything clearly. Let's go back. And now going to last 2 are left, and we are about to close. And we will be having one more lecture on dynamic analysis based on box. This was more of static and code related part, but not everything is really code. Sometimes we need to intercept the traffic, we need to bypass SSL pinning, we need to bypass root detection, email detection, so on and so forth. There's something called as FIDA, mob SFs. So whichever we did right now, this is completely manual. Like literally we had to do everything manually. But do you know we have tools that automate this stuff. We have tools that do show everything within fraction of seconds. We don't need to actually read the entire code or do entire stuff. So we have tools like Morpheus and everything, which we will be like we will be seeing in the upcoming sessions or upcoming next lecture. Okay, then you will say that Android Pentesting become much more easier and so relaxing. Okay, okay. Now going back to topic, that is hard-coded issues. Oh, we are back to the hard-coded again. I don't understand what is this hard-coded issues. Okay, find out the hard-coded where, okay, again, we need to find the hard-coded secret. Any idea where it will be present? So to understand this hard-coded issue again, have to see just over left. Anything similar to hard-coded? No, I'm not going to see anything. So let's try to analyze which are things that are done. Okay, hard-coded is done. Let me see. Hard physical data, so hardcore part. Okay, I'm able to see hardcore part. Okay. Okay, so it is saying keyword JNI and DJNI. Whenever you see this keyword like JNI, Java native interface, so it is so you need to understand this is only present when there's an interaction with third party code. For example, if a Java wants to interact with third party code, that is not Java, it's not a Java code. For example, the code is in C or C++ or something from the Java code. In that scenario, this particular comes into picture. So whenever you are interacting with a different code, so this GNI comes into picture. And what they are saying as per this, there should be something present into this GNI. Okay, which should be probably dynamically generated or What you can do, you can just go here. Whenever I see GNI, I just look in the libraries, lib folder, but not necessarily always it is created over here. It might be dynamically created. So what I will do, I will just go over here and just move it here. Just add this. Sorry, here. And what I can do is like assumes to get the root cd slash data slash Zakara Simitiva. Just start with uh, data slash e Simitiva and that's okay. So when we see libraries, it's lib folder, cd lib and ls, and I'm able to see this particular value. Okay. So what I will do, if I do cat and lib, I can see lots of garbage values, but I'm not interested in it. I want something much more clear. So what I will do, strings. You might be familiar that most of people, if you're doing CTF, might be using strings and might be wondering what the hell the strings do. Is it actually applicable in real life? So here's it. Just see everything you do in CTF and everything is actually applicable here somewhere other. Okay, strings and here's it. So we are getting lots of files over here. Okay, and there's a high possibility that some of one of them might be the password. So what we can do, I'll just copy out all of them. Okay, and I cannot actually write out manual, right? What I will do, I will just use workshop. So anyways, I'll be showing you how to use workshop tomorrow. But for time being, just add and try to intercept traffic possible. I'm not sure if this application is working online or offline. Just do a little bit, hardware issues. Probably it is working offline without any internet connection. Let me just check. No, it has internet connection. I'm not sure if it is hard to in the code or exactly it is. Let me just check if we are getting any traffic. If we are getting traffic, then we can do it with pursuit. If you are not getting in traffic, then we have to manually, which is a very tedious task to do, but still we have to do it. No worries if you are not understanding, then no problem. Anyways, we will be doing it again tomorrow. I'll explain you how to do it. Not here. Not use simulators much. So I mostly use things. I should get somewhere over proximate target and is that the IP address new terminal Here I pick config. So here is it. This IP address. It is recommended to provide this particular IP address, but apart from that, if you're working on emulator, then you can also provide localhost. That will also work. But I personally recommend using the proper IP address of your host. You can apply and close. I don't think so. It will be getting in connection from the internet, but let's try. If it is getting from internet, and Boxer will do the task will become task will become easier for us. Says no, no, no. So we cannot do the guesswork because we cannot do the Boxer automation because it is not connecting with the internet. So it is somewhere locally. So what I can do, we can do it manually as of now. So let's try to guess some of the keywords. So try this one first. Let's see if it's vendor key or not. It's not. Okay. Can someone guess what might be the key for this particular one? Lies. It's saying it's denied. Let's try something else. Let's try this one. Uh, this Jana download. JNI underscore download. This is also not working. Let's try something else. This SF file doesn't even work. I think this. Let's check this one. $3. $3. Sorry. Yeah. E and dollar zero and angle bracket and access both denied. So let's try something else. So basically something from this, we need to try all this one, and one out of them will be the key for your value. So we don't have time to try all of them. So we are not going to try all of them, but you can definitely try. And one something from this will be the key for this particular one. But still, even if you want to check, since we have access to this particular source code, we can check what is the vendor key. Let's try to do Diva GitHub, and let's try to analyze the source code. What is it? Okay. Okay, let's go to app source Diva. That should be GNI, which we are looking for, and probably this one. Okay, this is a file that we are looking for OLS. OLS. Okay, let me just check if we can get to this. We're able to see this particular file over here. OLS. Okay, this is the file that we are looking for. Okay, let's try to add this particular value. So, like we have seen, this is the value, and OLS EF GAD semicolon LH, and click access granted. See on the other side. You can see. So from the same string XML, you just have to try all this out, but we didn't have much time to try all this out. So we just checked from the source code itself. what was being hard coded. Like I mentioned, it's not connected to the internet. It's hard coded in the source code itself, but not entire source code is actually visible. So we need to search sometimes internal in the center source code itself. So there are many times you get white box Pentesting. In that scenario, we get text source code. We can directly see the source code also. So that's so to enforce. Apart from them, you can also check if you can get something as vendor key over here, vendor code and everything. If not, and just correct. Okay, let's check if you can get something. No, it is not available in a decompiled source code. So everything you don't get in a decompiled source code. And since we have solved the challenge of this particular one and access granted, okay, here's it. So done, that's it. And the last challenge for today is input validation issues. So this is a missile launch app, spread love, not war. Cause a damn thing. Your objective is not to find the code that launches missiles and everything. So basically, the cause of this application is like this application is doing something malicious, and we want to DOS the application or crash the particular application. So let's try to understand how can we DOS or crash this particular application. Okay. So let's this final challenge we need to solve, and we are going to go. Let me just open last one. Which one is this? This is what I'm missing. Introduction part 3. Validation part 3. Here is it, right? It is saying launching in 1T10 TNI. Okay. Launching in T1 to 10 and show. Okay. Let's try over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and push the red button. It is saying access denied. But since we are saying crash application, the first thing that comes to my mind is like, okay, just add lots of characters to see if it is getting crashed or not. Like there should be some buffer that the application can handle. So let's try to just copy it out and then paste it again and again and see if application crashed. Push the red button and application got crashed. That's it. So device stop. And this is the end of the lecture. So we can have a couple of questions now. And if any questions, then you can look into it. And just giving a brief overview, what will be the next lecture about Android. So till now we have seen the theoretical part, we have seen the practical part, and the code perspective, but we haven't touched the things like Frida or Movistar, or we can say SL training bypass, root prediction bypass, or verb suit, interception, HTTP, HTTPS, and so on and so forth. So all these things, and apart from that, there are the people ask for resources and other things, labs, what are the labs, what are the types, and other things that we will be seeing next lecture. Next lecture will be more or less very short as from my understanding. And if you want any other things that you want me to add in the next lecture, then definitely you let us know, let me know, so that I can prepare myself and bring things upfront based on your requirements. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the lecture and see you soon in the next lecture. Okay, let's have questions. Okay, Hamid Mohammed, right? He's saying like, can you show one more time how to connect an ADB to emulator? Sure, definitely. It is just as simple as that. Let me just exit, exit.
Just a moment.
and ADB, and just click on shell, and then we are connected. And even if your image doesn't be connected to ADB devices, and here you want to see this. Emulator gets automatically connected. In case if it is not getting connected, then you can use ADB connect 127.0.0.1 colon, whichever the emulator port number is open. So for Android emulator, the port number default port is 5554 or 5555. But for Knox and other kind of emulator, the port number varies. You can just Google out the port number for that particular emulator. For example, default port number or Knox here. Here Knox emulator, whatever it is. So you can get, here is it. So ADB connect 1.0.1.62001. So this is the default port for Knox. So similar scenarios like 5555 won't work for Knox. For Knox, it is 62201. For Android emulator, it's different. So for different emulators, we can have different kind of port numbers open. So you can just Google it out and you'll get it. Apart from that, the command is the same: ADB connect IP address and port number. I hope I answered your question.
Before we continue with the further question and answer, sir,
Mhm.
I would like to remind everyone in the audience that the quiz link has been posted in the YouTube chats, and it will be active for the next 20 minutes. So the quiz link will be closing sharp at 8:40.
Not 20, sorry, it's 10 minutes. So this will be only available for 10 minutes. So it's 8:19. So at 8:30, we'll be closing it.
Okay.
Thank you. Till that time, we can have questions required. Some people are saying that the quiz is same like yesterday. Faizan?
Questions are repeated as today was having a dynamic interaction was part. So many of the questions are repeated.
Okay, sure. Guys, anyways, quiz is just a part of self-assessment and considered for the attendance part. So, anyways, even if you repeat the same quiz today, so it will be considered as a new attendance for today. We have dates on which this quiz has been attended. So there won't be any kind of trouble for you. So I would just request you, even with the same link, just re can say just rewrite the same quiz and submit it, or refill the same quiz and submit it. Just fill it. Just fill it up and just submit it. Because quiz is acting as an attendance. It has no relevance with the marking scheme or something. It won't be affecting your day-to-day activities or your internship at any point of time. It's just an attendance. That's it. So any questions for today? So you are welcome. In emulator, did you activate any option? Yeah. So for emulator, what you need to do, you just need to enable USD debugging. You just scroll over here, just go to settings like we did yesterday as shown in the phone. You just need to enable developer options. You can just Google how to enable developer options, you get it. So just for understanding purpose, just go to system and here about emulator. You will get build number and just you click multiple times and you will become the you are now a developer. Get such kind of tools. Come back and in developer options, you just need to enable use begin. That's it. This one, your most time. That is something that you need to enable. That's it. Apart from that, there's no other thing that can be done. Okay. Is there any alternative emulators for testing Android or excluding Android Studio? Yeah, there are alternative apps like I rightly mentioned. There are Genymotion, Nox Player, Memo Emulator, and many more. To fill the feedback comments, looking good. No need to get an IP address. Yeah, when it comes to emulator, you don't need any IP address because it will be running localhost. But when it comes to a physical phone, you actually need the IP address. You need to add the IP address of your system, host system, into for proxy. And even we are connecting to ADB, you need to connect with the IP address that is provided to your Wi-Fi. Yesterday, I mentioned to use the IP address provided by the Wi-Fi because we were using the physical device. For physical device, we cannot use 127.0.0.1 and we require the physical IP address. But for emulator, we can use the localhost. We have 6 more minutes to go, guys. Be quick. If someone has not submitted quiz or feedback form, submit it quickly. I have already shared my notes, or I'm not notes basically, but the AVD and FIDA setup is already shared in the chat before. Apart from that, the notes as such I don't have. I have only notes that is my handwritten notes. That's it. Whichever I did today is completely practical. I can say it is 100% practical. So there's no assessment note taking, but definitely you will be having access to these recordings probably. So you can refer that one. If it is a non-rooted device, so there won't be any problem. But you won't be able to do this testing on a non-rooted device. There are some limitations, but definitely you can try it out. Set resource is something which are important to visit is we will be sharing tomorrow. Tomorrow we will be having most of the things that we will be using. Manoj Adarsh, he has question called difference between performance testing and functional testing. I'm not sure the performance testing, but I what I can say is like functional testing something we check all the functionality of the particular application in and out. You can also say as QA testing for functional testing. I think performance testing you might be referring. Are you referring to stress testing? Then that's a different part. So we just check how much stress it can handle, application handle, and to regress testing and other things. Or but not sure exactly what exactly performance testing is. But and if you are referring to pen testing, that is something we are doing is right now. We have 3 more minutes to go. Is there possibility to enable ADU of an Android device without as I'm using laptop without touching the Android phone. ADB is by default enabled. USB debugging is not enabled. Yeah, that's a possibility, but it is not uh, possible in all phones. That is check that need to be disabled. Once you get access to the physical device, now you will disable the USB authorization check in that scenario, or we can say if the wireless debugging is enabled, in that scenario you can actually connect, else you won't be able to connect without actually touching the phone. Hence, it is recommended to disable a USB debugging or wireless debugging whenever it is not required. This is the reason being, like if you enable USB debugging, if you enable wireless debugging, and you have given authorized access to a particular laptop or something, in that scenario, you anybody can actually connect using ADB without actually touching the phone. But if it is disabled, if the USB debugging is disabled, if the wireless debugging is disabled, then in that scenario, nobody can actually do it or harm your phone without actually having physical access to your phone. Next lecture will be on upcoming Saturday. We have sessions only on Saturday and Sunday. So next session will be on upcoming Saturday. You can just do it if you have shell of that phone. Using command line interface, using some commands, you can enable and disable user debugging. But for that, you need to have root access to this particular device and basically shell of that particular device. If you have the shell, you can do it. Thank you, Ganak. LinkedIn link, let me share it with you. Just my name itself, Kiran Kumar Sudhi, print out, you'll be able to see, but still I will just. Got it. I just shared the LinkedIn link in the chat.
Okay, so it's 8:30 and the quiz links has been closed.
Okay, thank you.
Extending thank you note for you, Kiran sir. It was a really amazing session, and it was first lecture. Some people were complaining that it was too much to grasp, but today everyone was able to understand and take down the knowledge you were sharing. So it was an amazing experience. And thanks a lot, sir, for being here and sharing your knowledge. We are looking forward for the next session, wherein you will be sharing more of such tools and other knowledge you have. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Faizan. Thank you for your time. And thank you everyone. Based on the feedback, I try to just improve myself. And good to see that today people are just enjoying lecture like anymore. And yeah, thank you. Keep going, keep learning, and be a part of this cybersecurity internship program. And we'll be glad if you guys be a part of trainers, instructors in the upcoming internship batch, and we'll be leading this particular internship program. Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day, everyone.